Andy Staples, the Sports Illustrated college football writer, who was at SEC Media Day. Well, you know what? That's a bro trip right there. Best moment of SEC Media Day was what, Andy?
Probably the Alabama fan who had the giant styrofoam national championship ring hat, and then watching every TV reporter trying to interview him. And I'm not going to lie, we had a camera there too. I interviewed him too. I'm just as bad as everyone else. But the trip you guys are talking about sounds like a hipster version of a Big Ten football weekend. We were in Madison before the Ohio State-Wisconsin game in 2010 on Friday night walking around, and one of the reporters goes, "Eddie, what's the difference between this and an SEC football weekend?" And I look around and I'm like, there are no women here. Like, the dudes go to the Big Ten games. That's their reunion. In the SEC, the ladies come too.
Well, yeah, some of those stops in the
Which
SEC.
explains all the national championships, by the way.
Yes. Hey, and Ole Miss, they would win a national championship, I think, for just the women that show up to those football games there.
They redshirt Miss America.
All right. Explain this to me, what's going on with the lawsuit with the NCAA, the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit, I guess is what it's being called. But what does it mean for those who are gamers, what the games are going to look like? What's it going to mean for players who possibly get paid down the road? Give us a bigger picture.
Well, basically, yesterday, 6 current athletes joined the suit as plaintiffs. So 6 current college football players joined the suit. And so now it sort of shifts the focus of the case. Everybody thinks the case is about the video game. Well, now that you've got the current athletes, it's also about all these giant TV contracts that the schools have. So the video game is not as big of a deal. But in terms of for the consumer, for the gamer, I don't think the game's going to change at all. I think the way the money gets distributed after you pay your $55, $60 for it is going to change. They're going to have to pay the players to be in it. But I don't think it's going to change anything for you on your new PlayStation console or your new Xbox or whatever they come out with next.
Can you pay the players based on this? With this lawsuit and the amount of money, what's going to happen?
Well, it depends. I think EA wants out of this suit because it's a suit against the NCAA, EA Sports, and the Collegiate Licensing Company, which is the company that handles the licensing for the schools. EA doesn't want any part of this. This is the NCAA's problem. And so the EA may just settle. And it's funny because, 5 years ago, if EA had come to all those players and said, listen, if you sign this to be in the game, we'll give you a free copy of the game for whatever console you want, every single player in America would have signed it. But now they know there's more money in it.
But could they have taken that? You can't take
yeah,
gifts.
That's going to be the issue, and that's going to be the issue with the NCAA going forward. That's why some people have said, I think the NCAA is going to settle because this is such an expensive loss if they lose. And how would you settle this case? You would settle it by essentially changing the NCAA's rules, and you would say in the conferences where there's all this money coming in, athletes would be entitled to X percentage of the revenues from the media rights deal, and they would hold that money sort of in trust until the athlete graduated. And the plaintiffs would agree to that. That's what they're okay with. But at this point, I think the NCAA has to dig in its heels and fight because it could still win the case and not have to change anything. But if it loses the case, it's going to have to change the whole economic model. Now, don't believe the athletic directors or commissioners who say, well, we dropped to Division III if that happened to just not give scholarships. That's ludicrous. People don't walk away from multi-billion-dollar businesses. Things would continue. There would be changes, though. Right now, football and men's basketball pay for the scholarships in every other sport. I think other sports would get cut. They would have to go back to club level or scale back. But you couldn't send the track team across the country for a meet.
But you're talking about billions of is billions?
Billions of dollars, yes. Yeah, there's a lot at stake with those TV contracts. I mean, if you think about the Pac-12 deal, which is just for I think it's 44 football games and 99 basketball games a year. That's $3 billion over 12 years with Fox and ESPN. And then they've also got their own network where they're bringing in quite a bit of money from that. So that's just that one conference. So for those 5 conferences, for the Pac-12, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and the Big 10, it's a very different ball game because they are bringing in these huge revenues, and there might be jurors or judges who think players deserve a cut of that.
Well, before I let you go, how do you think Johnny Manziel came out from the SEC media days?
I think he did fine. I think the more people asked him questions about that stuff, the Manning camp stuff, and the more he, calmly and politely answered them, the sillier the people asking the questions felt, because it was really stupid, the whole thing. And we are psychoanalyzing this kid so much for doing stuff that we all did as 20-year-olds. Difference is we weren't Heisman Trophy winners, so nobody really wanted to meet us, and our families, for the most part, weren't loaded, so we didn't have the means to go fly to meet these people. He's got the means to go fly and hang out with Drake. But it just it was pretty silly after a while, and I think he's going to figure out eventually where there's an equilibrium where he can be happy, have fun, and not cause a stir. But I don't really have a problem with a 20-year-old being a 20-year-old.
See, I got to come up with a Johnny Manziel alarm clock. Yeah, I just, whatever it is, how, he's scrambling and then all of a sudden, he scores a touchdown and, then the alarm goes off or something. Somebody should.
Like the sound it made in Bryant-Denny Stadium when he threw that touchdown pass to Ryan Swope last year.
That might be too loud.
That would work.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, thank you.
Andy Staples, Sports Illustrated senior writer.